All right, welcome to the last module of the 8 weeks job and career accelerator program. And in this module, we'll be looking at the balanced life, achieving harmony between work and personal life. Very important. So we need to learn to achieve harmony between work life and personal life. Quickly, we'll move. The objective of this module is to understand the concept of work-life balance, recognize the importance of maintaining personal well-being, identify the common causes of imbalance, and learn practical strategies to create and maintain a balanced life in our daily lives. All right, so quickly moving. So let's define work-life balance. We said work-life balance is a state of equilibrium where an individual prioritizes the demand of their career and their personal life in a healthy and sustainable way, right? It's a state of equilibrium where you as an individual, you prioritize the demands of your work, your career, and the demands of your personal life in a healthy way and in a sustainable way so that there is less stress in your world, right? The first thing you want to understand is this is achievable, it is possible. And I know that we are just coming into the world of work as core members, right? But you must understand that this is possible and it is achievable. As you're coming to the world of work, you probably want to spend more time in building your work, profession, in building your credibility, building your portfolio, but you must prioritize also work-life balance. So let's look at the myth versus the reality. So work-life balance is not about having equal hours between your work and your personal life. That's not work-life balance. It's about setting intentional boundaries and satisfaction in both areas, right? It's about intentional boundaries and satisfaction in both areas. So what that means is you are responsible for designing your own work-life balance, right? You are responsible for designing it. How much time you allocate to this, how much time you allocate to your personal life, how much time you allocate to your work life is in such a way that it creates a balance for you, right? For example, can be taking time off from work without guilt because you've achieved your deliverables, right? You've finished your deliverables, you've done your work. It's okay to take time off, right? You can also disconnect from work emails and all that as long as you have set, your work time and you've done your work. You can also take a few hours for your personal life daily, and all of that. And also pursue your hobbies, relationships, and also find rest, because that's how you're able to optimize your own personal health, because personal health is important, right? Quickly. So why does it matter? The first thing is health and mental wellness, right? Health and mental wellness. You want to reduce stress, reduce anxiety and burnout. These are things that you want to reduce. You don't want to be somebody who is stressed. You don't want to have anxiety and burnout and all of that. So you want to try as much as possible to maintain a healthy work-life balance. The second thing is productivity, right? Productivity and focus, right? Very important. Productivity and focus. Balanced employees tend to perform better and are more creative at work, right? So if you have a balanced life, you'll be more creative, you'll be more optimized, you'll be more proficient, and you will perform better at work. So it's very important. Also, it helps you build stronger family relationships, friendships, and social ties, right? You don't just want to be a work. You want to engage with family, engage with friends, and engage with social life, even though that should not take the chunk of your life or your time, but you need to have a portion of your life for that, right? Because family is important, friendships are important, and social ties, networking, all these are important, right? And then for long-term career success, right? Sustainable growth and job satisfaction, right? You don't just want to be all work and no play, right? You need to have a balance so that you can have career, success. These are very important things. So let's look at some signs that you might be out of balance. The first thing is constant fatigue, and sleep issues. If you always find yourself always fatigued, tired, you want to sleep and all of that, you need to check. Am I balanced? Am I having a balanced work and personal life balance? Are you losing interest in your hobbies and your relationships, right? Are you having a decline in your physical health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health, right? If you're having decline in those areas, you want to check, is there balance in my life, right? Also, are you having burnout, or are you easily irritated by people, by work? If you are one of these, then you need to check that your work life is balanced. So these are just signs. Are you fatigued? Are you losing sleep? Are you losing interest in relationships and people? Are you having declining physical health, mental health, spiritual health? And also, are you having burnout, and are you irritated easily? Now, let's look at some common barriers to work-life balance. The first thing is the hustle culture, right? We have this hustle culture and pressure where we want to always be busy, always be doing something. It seems as though the more I'm busy, the more I'm productive, but it's not necessarily, right? So you need to find out the important tasks, the important things that need to be done, and do them, which leads us to the second point of time management, right? You need to know how to manage your time effectively, right? Poor time management would obviously lead to, imbalanced work life, right? And then the next one is distraction, social media, and all of that. You want to allocate time for that. You can't spend the whole of your day on social media, right? You need to allocate time for work, allocate maybe a few minutes, for social media and engage on that, and then go back to your work, right? But don't spend the whole day on social media, right? Talking about guilt around taking breaks, and then also financial stress, and side hustle overload, right? When you have side hustle overload, there is no time for a personal life, right? And we live in a world where things are getting harder and all of that. The price of things are going up, and so there's a need for more side hustles and all of that. But you must also prioritize your mental health, spiritual health, physical health, and all of that. Because if you break down, there won't be any work, right? So it's important to take note of these things. Now let's look at 5, strategies for creating work-life balance. The first is to set boundaries. Boundaries are very important. Define your work hours and stick to them, right? And I know that this is difficult because, you're just in your entry phase, to work, and you want to prioritize work, right? Which is very important. You want to show, credibility, proficiency, and all that. But as you grow, you begin to prioritize these things. Set work hours, right? And stick to them, and communicate your availability, right? This is time management now. Communicate your availability to your family, to your friends, to your co-workers. Let them know I'm available by this time, I'm working by this time, and all of that. Plan your engagement properly, right? You also want to prioritize your plans, right? Use a to-do list, identify the tasks that move the needle, and then identify the tasks that just keep you busy. You need to differentiate them. These ones are important, these ones are just keeping me busy, right? You need to prioritize and plan. Time management. Go for time management classes, right? And then practice self-care, right? Practice your self-care. You want to sleep, your sleep, your nutrition, exercise, mental breaks, practice self-care. Your meditations, your prayers, and all of that. Practice self-care because your health is very important, right? If you break down, your organization will still continue functioning with or without you, right? So practice self-care. And the next thing is to embrace flexibility. Now, I know that for some people who have strict routines, it's difficult to practice flexibility, but life always creates changes, right? So you need to know how to shift your priorities as life happens. But also you need to learn to say no when it is needed, right? Don't just destroy your structure because of every life's, disorganization, right? So you know how to shift your priorities, and you also know how to say no when it is needed. Last thing is you need to know how to use technology wisely. Productivity tools like Notion, calendars, and all of that. You need to know how to use them wisely and effectively. And turn on your notification have these notifications. I think there are apps for this that will help you focus. There are apps that helps you, it restructures the settings of your phone. You have focus, for sleep, for family time, and all of that. So have these apps, these productivity apps, that would help you and lock out times and be intentional about prioritizing your health, right? So last thing is have a reflective journal. Write down things. The more you write things down, the more you get clarity on what you're doing. So write things down. Ask yourself, what is one area of my life that feels neglected, right? What is one small change I can make this week that can bring more balance to my life, right? What is a boundary that you can start practicing even today that can bring more balance to your life? Write these things down, and you would see changes in your world, right? These are very important tools that will help you thrive at the place of work, right? So this is the last thing. Balance is not something you find, it is something you create. Again, balance is not something you find, it is something you create. So you must create balance in your world, right? All right, thank you very much. This is the end of this cohort, right? I trust that you have gained one or two things from this learning experience, and I hope you take advantage of them. Do well to engage in all the activities, and we will see you at your graduation. All right, thank you very much. Bless your hearts.